gang, family, familia, mi hombres. What's going on? It's your boy Phantom Fuego, PHANTMPHUVGO. And you are tuned into the news, views, previews, and reviews. With just a twist of his ghetto point of view. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Family, we got a fire show coming up. Not gonna belabor the point. Y'all know how to get at me if you need to get at me. His ghetto point of view at gmail.com. His ghetto point of view at gmail.com. His ghetto point of view at gmail.com. Welcome to those who is their first stream. I'm your hostess with the mostest. It's my pleasure to stimulate your mental, inspire your soul, and make your head nod over this next 60 to 90 minute period. You know what I'm saying? Maybe 120 minute period. Just depends on how the show go. So just know you're gonna enjoy. You're gonna enjoy. For those who stay 100th time listening, thank you so much for the support, for rocking and vibing with the pod. Keep telling a friend to tell a friend. Let them know Wednesdays and Sundays is when we get to it. You know how we do it. It ain't nothing to it. And I got some amazing announcements coming up in the next few weeks. Got some amazing surprises I've been promising, and we almost there. Everything is starting to look good on the back end to evolve to the next iteration. I'm very, very excited, but I will keep you guys updated and abreast of all transitions, all new things coming, and always you can continue to support, ride the wave, stay in tune. Don't worry, much won't be changing on y'all end. It'll be everything, transitioning on our end to just make this a much more immersive, all-encompassing, and just dope as fuck experience. You dig me? We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to get into the first topic of the day, story of the night. It's your boy Phantom Fuego. Let's fucking go. Hey kitties, we back. So this is something that I didn't get to unfortunately jump into over 420, but I still wanted to address it because I feel like it's fucking crazy. Cannabis is so bad. Think about this, guys, and everybody who don't smoke, just bear with us for this first story, because educate yourself. You definitely want to learn these things. You may have a child that is interested in cannabis. You may have a family member who needs to use medical cannabis. Don't turn your back on them. Learn a bit more about the plant. Don't be so close-minded. You know what I'm saying? At least if you're going to dismiss the plant, be educated on what you're dismissing. You know what I'm saying? Don't just be so close-minded. So, for those that don't know, in 1937, the United States government declared a tax on cannabis. It was called the marijuana. You gotta say it like that because that word is racist as hell, and it's supposed to, or prejudice as hell, as I should say, and it's supposed to connote the evilness of Mexicanos. So the Marijuana Act, it's a tax act of 1937. Just pull this up on Wikipedia real quick. So the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937, enacted on August 2nd, 1937, was a United States act that placed a tax on the sale of cannabis. H.R. 6385 Act was drafted by Harry Anslinger and introduced by Representative Robert L. Dalton of North Carolina on April 14, 1937. The 75th United States Congress held hearings on April 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, and May 4th, 1937. Upon the congressional hearings confirmation, the H.R. 6385 Act was redrafted as H.R. 6906. That's a lot of sixes. Anyway, and introduced with House Report 792. The act is now commonly referred to as using the modern spelling as the 1937 Marijuana Tax Act. This act was overturned in 1969 in Leary versus the United States and was repealed by Congress the next year. So this act lasted for about 32 years. So regulations and restrictions on the sale of cannabis sativa as a drug began as early as 1906. So from 1906, they was trying to get some money. The head of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, Harry Anslinger, alleged in 1930 the FBN had an increase of reports of people using cannabis. Also in 1935, he also had support from President Franklin D. Roosevelt for the adoption of a Uniform State Narcotic Act. More taxes. State laws, including regulations of cannabis. Guys, if y'all don't know when y'all being duped. This was never about trying to keep people healthy. This was about how they could make some paper. You understand me? This was about how they could make some fucking paper. Let's continue with the background. The total production of hemp fiber in the United States in 1933 decreased to around 500 tons per year. Think about how much cannabis they was making before 1933 if it decreased to 500 tons. Tons, my nigga. A plant don't weigh nothing. How many plants you gotta make to make 1 ton of it? These is plants. You know what I'm saying? These is plants that get sold in amounts of grams. You know how many grams you need to make a ton? You know how many ounces you need to make a ton? This ain't your quarter ounce from Aki up the block. You know what I'm saying? This ain't an eighth. This ain't an eighth of that loud pack. 500 tons. Cultivation of hemp began to increase in 1934 and 1935, but production remained low compared with other fibers. Interested parties in the note of the AIM Act was to reduce hemp industry through excess taxation, largely as an effort of businessman Andrew Mellon, Randolph Hearst, and the DuPont family. Shouts to the DuPont Registry. You know what I'm saying? When you when you just drop your new song, talking about yeah, me, I see her do a thing. She might wanna rap, but she'll make you sing. You know what I'm saying? When you just drop the joint like The Dream and Team Red on them, you know, you can shop out the DuPont Registry. You can shop out the DuPont Registry. Yeah, a lot of y'all don't even know what the DuPont Registry is, man. I'm gonna leave that alone. For those that don't know, I'm just teasing. The DuPont Registry is like a very high-end product catalog where you can order products you probably won't really see anywhere else because they're very high-end, very exclusive. Yeah, it's dope just to, pick up the catalog and just check it out, see what they have from time to time. Stuff you probably never see nowhere else. It's pretty intense. Cars, clothes, watches, very exclusive type of stuff. the DuPont registry. Shout to the dream. Anyway, the same parties argue, the article continues, the same parties argue that with the invention of the decorticator, hemp was an economical replacement for paper pulp in the newspaper industry. Here we go. They were mad that hemp was going to replace paper. It had the potential. I mean, hemp, I don't even know how you could say replacement for paper pulp when there's evidence that hemp paper had been used for millennia. When they say papyri, like the papyrus that the ancient Egyptians and stuff used to write on, a lot of scholarly evidence shows that was actually hemp that they were writing on already. There was already hemp being used in industry for thousands of years. So I don't know how it could be a replacement for paper when in reality, paper pulp from trees came in to be a replacement for hemp. There was never a need to replace the hemp manufacturing industry. It was perfect. It's industrial. It works well. It works well. There's really no reason against using it. So Mellon, the Secretary of Treasury and the wealthiest man in the U.S. at the time, invested heavily in the DuPont family's new synthetic fiber, nylon. So Andrew Mellon, the Secretary of Treasury and the wealthiest man in the U.S., invested heavily in the DuPont family's nylon, which was a new synthetic fiber which would compete with hemp. I'm the Secretary of Treasury. I get to help influence making the laws for the country. I'm going to take my personal money and invest it in this new synthetic fiber called nylon, which is now here to compete with hemp. I don't think y'all understand what's going on right here. Andrew Mellon, Randolph Hearst, and the DuPont family all got together and said, yo, hemp is taking away. Hemp is too much. We can't compete with hemp. It grows wildly. It can just keep growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. It's industrial. You can use it for houses, for clothes. You can use it for rope. You can use it to make concrete. Hempcrete is extremely durable. It doesn't make any sense. They can't compete with nylon. They can't compete with pulp paper. You have to tear down too many trees to make pulp paper to compete with hemp, something that grows at a very fast rate, replenishes itself extremely quickly, can grow in a myriad of environments, strong, durable, tons of stocks. They couldn't compete, so they had to get it the fuck off the market. They couldn't compete with it on the market, so they had to get it the fuck off the market. You understand what's going on here? They couldn't compete, so now they had to get it the fuck up off the market. And now when we in an age where people are not going to be using paper no more like that, fuck it, let them have the hemp back. Let them have the hemp back. We don't care that we done made money for decades off of notebooks, loose leaf paper, printing paper. We done made our money. We good now. Nylon done made money for years, decades. We talking about something that nylon started being manufactured in the early 1900s. Talking about 100 plus years of them being able to make money. Nylon isn't everything. Nylon isn't everything. Nylon clothes, nylon shoes, nylon furniture, nylon upholstery, nylon luggage and bags. Nylon is in everything. They have made hand over fist money with this. But all they had to do was make Mexicans and jazz musicians look like degenerate scum to get it done. Ain't that great? Oh, and all the Caucasian farmers that they made look like they were fucking some type of criminals or wards of like enemies of the state, when in reality they were just growing flowers. They were just gardening. They were just fucking gardening. They were just really good at fucking gardening. This shit is disgusting, man. This world we live in is fucking crazy. This world we live in is fucking crazy. So I'm gonna continue on. Newspaper magnate William Randolph Hearst realized cheap, sustainable, and easily grown hemp threatened his extensive timber holdings. Didn't we just fucking say this? Newspaper magnate William Randolph Hearst realized cheap, sustainable, easily grown hemp threatened his extensive timber holdings. Mellon, Secretary of the Treasury and the wealthiest man in the United States, invested heavily in the DuPont family's new synthetic fiber, nylon, to compete with hemp. In 1916, the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA Chief Scientist Jason L. Merrill and Lister H. Dewey created a paper, USDA Bulletin Number 404, Hemp Herds as Paper Making Material, in which they concluded this paper was from the woody inner portion of the hemp stem broken into pieces. The hemp herds was favorable in comparison to those with wood pulp. So the Department of Agriculture did a study, and it saw that hemp was by far a superior product to make paper out of than pulp wood, paper from trees, from standard wood trees. Not only was it better, it was more sustainable. Dewey and Merrill believed hemp herds were a sustainable source for paper production. The concentration of cellulose in hemp herds is generally around 35%. Manufacture of paper on equipment designed to use wood pulp with hemp as raw materials shows that hemp lacks qualities needed to become a major competitor to the traditional paper industry. That doesn't make any sense. So the USDA said it was superior, but then, and Dewey and Merrill believed hemp herds were sustainable. But then this goes on to say the manufacture of paper. But you see, I love this because there's no source for that. You got to be careful when you read stuff and they have no source. So they claim here that it wouldn't be able to compete, but then there's no source for that. There's no source to click on to back up that statement. So that's just somebody at fucking Wikipedia or somebody who has editing authority on this Wikipedia page just writing in shit that they can't corroborate with a source. In 2003, 95% of hemp herds in the EU were used for animal bedding. Almost 5% was used as building material. Spokesperson for DuPont and many other fiber manufacturers dispute a link between their promotion of nylon over hemp. They explain that the purpose of developing nylon was to produce a fiber competitive with silk and rayon. It just happened to, we just happen to need hemp to get out the way. Bullshit. The American Medical Association opposed the taxation because the tax was imposed on physicians prescribing cannabis, retail pharmacists selling cannabis, and medical cannabis cultivation / manufacturing. The AMA proposed cannabis instead be added to the Harrison Narcotics Tax Act, which would have been more efficient and created less burden on doctors. Dr. William Creighton Woodward, legislative counsel for the AMA, testified on behalf of the AMA. He stated that the claims about marijuana addiction, violence, and overdosage were not supported and that the law should not burden further investigation into medical use. The head of the American Medical Association testified that there was no support to the link of marijuana addiction, marijuana violence, or marijuana overdose. He knew that they was just trying to get to the bag. He knew that this was just about fucking money. He's like, yo, if y'all gonna tax it, at least tax it under the Narcotics Act. Why y'all gonna make this marijuana tax? Tax us out of our fucking, tax us to no end when we're here just being doctors prescribing medicine. You're taxing doctors, you're taxing pharmacists, and you're taxing the people that are manufacturing for cultivation, so growers. All because your peoples want to sell nylon and wood paper pulp. Disgusting world, man. This world is about money. You understand me? Money. After hearings with lawyers from DuPont Chemicals and the Hearst newspaper group, the taxation was passed on the grounds of differing reports and hearings. What? What the fuck does that mean? Anslinger also referred to the International Opium Convention from 1928, which included cannabis as a drug, not a medicine. What? All state legislators approved identical laws against improper use of cannabis. For example, the Uniform State Narcotic Act. By 1951, however, spokespeople for DuPont, Hearst, and others came up with a new, improved rationalizations, and the Boggs Act superseded the Marijuana Taxation Act. So they went from trying to tax people. They kept lobbying the government, and they got a Boggs Act, and they got mandatory prison sentences for people that was just selling cannabis that was completely legal. You talking about doctors and stuff, y'all. This is crazy. In August of 1954, the Internal Revenue Code of 1954 was enacted, and a Marijuana Taxation Act was included in subchapter A of Chapter 39 of the 1954 Code. This is crazy, family. This is fucking crazy. I'm going to continue on. The operation of the act. Shortly after the 1937 Marijuana Tax Act went into effect on October 1st, 1937, the Federal Bureau of Narcotics and the Denver City Police arrested Moses Baca for possession and Samuel Caldwell for dealing. Baca and Caldwell's arrest made them the first marijuana convictions under U.S. federal law for not paying the marijuana tax. This is crazy. Judge Foster Sims sentenced Baca to 18 months and Caldwell for 4 years in Leavenworth Penitentiary for violating the taxes. After the Philippines fell to Japan's forces in 1942, the Department of Agriculture and the United States Army urged farmers to grow fiber hemp. So hold on. In 1937, y'all threw niggas in jail. Then 5 years later, because of wars going on, now the Department of Agriculture is going to turn around and ask the farmers to grow it. Tax stamps for cultivation and hemp fiber hemp began to be issued to farmers. Without any change in the Marijuana Tax Act, 400,000 acres were cultivated with hemp between 1942 and 1945. Black people was fighting for 40 acres. They over here growing 400,000 acres of weed. Y'all in the 40s and 50s. Think about this shit. We couldn't get 40 acres. This is crazy. This is crazy. This world we live in this is a different world we living in, y'all. This is a different world. It's a different world than where you come from. We gonna take a quick break, gang. We just getting into this. Oh man, we gonna be right back. Chill. Yeah, gang, we back. So continuing on. So in 1967, we still talking about, of course, the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937. Still in the Wikipedia article about the Marijuana Tax Act. In 1637, President Johnson's Commission on Law Enforcement and Administration of Justice opined the act raises a significant amount of revenue and exposes a significant number of marijuana transactions to public view. Since only a handful of people are registered under the act, it has become, in effect, solely a criminal law imposing sanctions upon persons who sell, acquire, or possess marijuana. In 1969, as part of the act was ruled to be unconstitutional as a violation of the Fifth Amendment, since a person seeking the tax stamp would have to incriminate themselves. In response, the Congress passed the Controlled Substance Act as Title II of the Comprehensive Drug Abuse Prevention and Control Act of 1970, which repealed the 1937 Act. And of course, the Controlled Substances Act was a statute establishing drug policy, which the manufacture, importation, possession, use, and distribution of certain substances was regulated. It was passed by the 91st Congress as Title II of the Comprehensive Drug Abuse Prevention and Control Act of 1970. And for those that don't know a little bit of etymology, the word marijuana, is probably of Mexican origin. Probably, sure it is. We came up with that shit to make fucking them look bad. In the years leading up to the Taxation Act, it was common use in the United States, smoked like tobacco, and called ganja or ganja. The LaGuardia Committee report. The only authoritative voice that opposed Anslinger's campaign against cannabis was New York Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia, who appointed in 1938 a commission of investigation, and in 1944 strongly objected to Anslinger's campaign with the LaGuardia Committee, because the LaGuardia Committee again found that there was nothing happening. The sociological conclusions from the LaGuardia report. So for those that don't know, real quick, the LaGuardia Committee was the first in-depth study into the effects of smoking cannabis in the United States. You see, I like that. It was actually called marijuana back then, but they put cannabis here because they know it's bullshit what these fucking dudes, Harry Anslinger and them, was doing. The DuPonts, the Anslingers, as you just saw, man, this was just about fucking money. They all got together because they were trying to make some fucking money. Andrew Mellon, banker, philanthropist, industrialist, art collector, politician from the wealthy Mellon family of Pennsylvania, right? Andrew Mellon, William Randolph Hearst, American businessman, newspaperman, politician, developing the largest newspaper chain. With his flamboyant style of quote-unquote yellow journalism, and the DuPont family, an American family descended from Pierre Samuel DuPont de Nemours. Guarantee you all of the DuPonts look Caucasoid, but this clearly says Nemours, like Nemours. But anyway, like Moors. I'm gonna leave it alone, man. I'm gonna leave it alone. So these families, it had been the richest family in the United States since the mid-19th century, when it founded its fortune in the gunpowder business. Just saying, man. So you got all these people together pushing hemp out the way so they can make newspapers, so they can push their paper, their pulp, their wood pulp, so they can push nylon, so they can push wood. It was too many people trying to get to the bag, and hemp was in the fucking way. So they had to say, oh, this thing is causing problems. Oh, we have to do reefer madness. Oh, we have to do the devil's leaves. This is devil's lettuce. This is causing white women to love up on the Negro jazz musicians, and this is bringing in crime from all these Mexicans coming across the border now, just sitting around, just smoking all day, and then getting into violent, aggressive hysterics. We have to stomp it out. Of course, this is simultaneously at the time that Anslinger needs something new to attack, because now alcohol is completely legal, so he doesn't have anything to do with his time. So he was a pawn and a puppet on a string for the DuPonts. He was a pawn and a puppet on a string for the Mellon family, and he was a pawn and a puppet on a string for William Randolph Hearst. Period. The Federal Bureau of Narcotics, which is now the DEA, we already know the government been in the pocket of big business. Big business, big corporations been running this company since the inception of this country. This country's inception was about big business, and this country continues to move based on what's good for big business. Don't ever get that shit twisted. Don't ever get that shit twisted. So the LaGuardia Committee, the first in-depth study into the effects of smoking cannabis in the United States. An earlier study, the Indian Hemp Drugs Commission, was conducted by the colonial authorities in British India in 1893 and 1894. The reports systemically contradicted claims by the U.S. Treasury Department that smoking cannabis results in insanity, deteriorates physical and mental health, assists in criminal behavior and juvenile delinquency, is physically addictive, and is a gateway to more dangerous drugs. The report was prepared by the New York Academy of Medicine on behalf of a commission appointed in 1939 by New York Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia, who was a strong opponent of the 1937 Marijuana Tax Act, and released in 1944. The report infuriated Harry Anslinger, who was campaigning against marijuana because he had nothing better to do with his time, because liquor was now legal, and he needed a job, or he needed a new mission, a new campaign, a new thing to fight against, or his new fancy gig as the head of the NFA, which is now the DEA. The FBN, the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. His cushy gig at the FBN would be 86th Hibachi'd. Anslinger condemned the report as unscientific. How can a non-scientist condemn two reports done by scientists as unscientific without any type of scientific explanation? Because I say so, because I'm a big Caucasian man, and I said it's unscientific. So you're gonna listen to me, see? I'm a big, powerful man, see? And I said it's unscientific, see? Anslinger went on an offensive against what he saw as a degenerate Hollywood that was promoting marijuana use. After high-profile actors such as Robert Mitchum, Hollywood gave Anslinger, after high-profile arrest of actors like Robert Mitchum, Hollywood gave Anslinger full control over the script of any film that mentioned cannabis. Wow. So they just started arresting people. They said, "Oh yeah, you want to play around, Hollywood? We'll just arrest y'all niggas. We'll just lock y'all all up." Very interesting, man. This world is crazy. So the sociological conclusions. After more than 5 years of research, the members of the committee drew up a catalog of 13 salient points with the conclusions they reached. 1. Cannabis is used extensively in the borough of Manhattan, but the problem is not as acute as reported to be in other sections of the United States. So people was already using cannabis heavy in the 1930s in Manhattan. The introduction of cannabis into this area is recent as compared to other localities. The cost of cannabis is low and therefore within the purchasing power of most persons. The distribution and use of cannabis is centered in Harlem. Really? I doubt that very much, because we know, as later reports have shown, that cannabis use is used just as much in the Caucasian communities, if not arguably more. So cut the cap. Christopher Columbus and them was smoking cannabis. Like, stop it. A lot of they say Napoleon Bonaparte was smoking cannabis when he came here to the Americas. So I don't like this all this talk. It's poppycock. The consensus among marijuana smokers is that the use of the drug creates a definite feeling of adequacy. Everything's just gonna be all right, man. The practice of smoking cannabis does not lead to addiction in the medical sense of the word. The sale and distribution of cannabis is not under the control of any single group. The use of that, and that's what they don't like. They want it to be centralized. They want to be able to control who makes the money. They don't give a fuck how high you get. They don't give a fuck how high you get. They want to be able to control the money. Actually, I'd argue they probably do give a fuck how high you get, because they're also regulating the potency. And they're not regulating it to make it stronger and better. They're regulating it to make the potency weaker. But people keep playing like that's not what they're doing. Oh, nah, the lab is making that good shit. Bullshit. A plant allowed to just keep growing and getting stronger naturally will just keep getting stronger and growing naturally. Just saying. If I don't regulate how it grows, then this shit is just going to keep getting more potent. The use of marijuana does not lead to morphine or heroin or cocaine addiction, and no effort is made to create a market for these narcotics by stimulating the practice of marijuana smoking, i.e. this shit is not a fucking gateway drug, you fucking liars. Marijuana is not the deter. So think about it. This report came out in the 1930s, and they still went in the 1980s, 1990s, and 2000s talking about cannabis was a gateway drug. Don't let your kids smoke it, or don't go around it. Don't go near it. Marijuana is the gateway drug, and then you're gonna be doing crack and coke, and this is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. Frying eggs. Any questions, niggas? That's why you still got old grandmas. I ran a gun if I see y'all smoking that reefer. Don't smoke that reefer around my house. I ran a gun. Y'all smoking that reefer around my house. I'm calling the cops. Don't smoke that reefer around my house. My Jesus told me that reefer is going to send you straight to hell. Don't you smoke that reefer around my house. Get out. Get out my house with all that reefer. Chill, grandma. We just getting high. Marijuana is not the determining factor in the commission of major crimes, meaning people don't smoke and then go do something bad to people. Marijuana is not widespread among school children. Oh, mic drop. All the things they said were a lie. Juvenile delinquency is not associated with the practice of smoking cannabis. Juvenile delinquents do not smoke cannabis and then go commit crimes. Nigga, they was already gonna go do those crimes anyway. The cannabis ain't have nothing to do with it. Cannabis probably stopped some of them fools from doing something stupid a few days out their life. They probably got so high they just said, I ain't going to shoot nobody today, man. I just want to eat, go to sleep. The publicity concerning the catastrophic effects of cannabis in New York City is unfounded. Therefore, according to the LaGuardia report, the gateway drug theory is without foundation. Consequences. In 1944, the report offended Harry Anslinger, who branded it as quote-unquote unscientific. Harry Anslinger denounced Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia and the New York Academy of Medicine and the doctors who had worked for more than 5 years on their research. Anslinger said that they should not conduct more experiments or studies on cannabis without his personal permission. Anslinger interrupted between 1944 and 1945 each current research on derivatives of cannabis. So the dude started killing all the research that was being done because all of it would show that he didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. And according to some personally commissioned the American Medical Association papers, the position which would reflect the one of the government. So then he turned around and went to go get some reports from the AMA to contradict all of this science that was coming out from the New York Academy of Medicine and all these other places, which was saying you're bugging. The study conducted by the AMA between 1944 and 1945 on Anslinger's personal request, having as objective to disprove the statements of LaGuardia, leveraged again on racism, asserting that of the experimental group, 34 men were black and only one was white. And those who smoked marijuana became disrespectful of white soldiers and officers during military segregation. Yo, you can't make this shit up. They've been race baiting us forever. They've been race baiting us forever, y'all. They've been race baiting us forever, man. This shit is disgusting. This is like saying, oh, these fucking Negroes smoke a spliff and then they want to take a knee while we over here pledging allegiance. You can't say they are disrespecting soldiers and officers. Man, they know how to play on people's heartstrings, boy. Only in 1972, the same institutional source that spread the series of scientifically unfounded rumors about the dangers of cannabis admitted that these stories were largely false. It took all the way to 1972. The same people, the same institutional source that spread the series of unfounded rumors See how they said that? They didn't want to say, oh, the company came out and said it. No, the same institutional source. I love the way people write, man. It's so, like, they try to hide things in words. And that the article continues in that, with careful consideration of the documentation, there is no confirmation of the existence of a causal relationship between cannabis use and the possible use of heroin. There is no gateway. There is no gateway. There is no gateway. Thus, it was declared that the ban on cannabis was imposed and still subsisted. So it still continues without any serious and comprehensive research. Having been conducted on the effects of cannabis. So to this day, they have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. To this day, they have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. None. Every single report, every single scientific evaluation they do of cannabis that's allowed to go on fairly, every single one shows that cannabis is not the problem. Every single one shows that the cannabis is not the problem. So, yeah, they've been doing this shit since the 30s. And think about how many people they locked up. Even with Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia's report having been out there since the 30s, the reports from overseas, from the British doctors having been out there, even in the 70s, with those same institutions coming back and having to say, listen, we were wrong. To this day, all this prohibition on cannabis is going on without any clear indication that it actually is doing anything wrong. And they still locked people up. And they still destroyed people's lives. They still destroyed people's businesses. Think about that. Like, with all this information out there, the government still moved in this way and justified it. They justified it the whole time. They justified it the entire time. Gang, I'm disgusted. We gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back. Fuck Harry Anslinger. Fuck Harry Anslinger. Fuck Harry Anslinger. Fuck the DuPont family. Fuck the Mellon family. Fuck nylon. Fuck paper. And now that we not using paper, give them hemp back. And then they don't want to deal with the fact that Trump was the one who legally regulated the hemp again in his Agricultural Act of 2018, fully made hemp legal to possess, distribute, and manufacture. He also made it illegal to keep feeding people cats, which is disgusting. In most of the states in this country, you could feed people cats in your restaurant, and it was perfectly legal. And dogs. But I'm going to leave that there, because that's nasty. We're going to take a break. We'll be back, fam. Shit. Gang, right? So, commission after commission after commission, they still don't motherfucking listen. What you talking about? Ghetto? Alright, so there was also another commission done in the 70s, right? Another study, another, research report, whatever you want to call it, more testing was done. It's called the Schaefer Commission, also known as the National Commission on Marijuana and Drug Use. This was done by President Nixon this time, y'all, in the 70s, right? So now we done went from the 30s, 40 years later, gang. We 40 years later, tribe. We 40 years later, family. Do you think they would have let this go already and understood that they didn't have the evidence to make people out to be criminals on cannabis? Do you think they would just let this shit go already? Why? Of course not. Of course fucking not. Then they wouldn't be who they are. Then they wouldn't be who the fuck they are. So I'm gonna read this real quick on the Schaefer Commission. The Schaefer Commission, formerly known as the National Commission on Marijuana and Drug Abuse, was appointed by the U.S. President Richard Nixon in the early 1970s. Its chairman was former Pennsylvania governor, former Pennsylvania Governor Raymond P. Schaefer. The commission issued a report on its findings in 1972 that called for the decriminalization of marijuana possession in the United States. So in 1972, in the commission, we asked for permission to hit him. He don't like me, hit him while wifey was with him. You heard of us, the murderers, most shady. Been on the low lately, the feds hate me. You hesitating, I'm in your mama crib waiting. Duct taping, your fam's destiny lays in my hands and lays in my waist. Francis, into the his age phenomenal. Gun rest under the vest by the abdominal. Rhyme a few bars so I can buy a few bombs. And kick a few blows so I can pimp a few up. Listen, the commission issued a report on its findings in 1972 that called for the decriminalization of cannabis possession. What year is this? What year is this? This is 2020 motherfucking 3. So they did a 2-year study from 1970, and then they released they studies in 1972, March 22nd of 1972. 322. Look at these numbers. Anyway, look at these numbers. They released their findings, and in March of 1972, stated they should decriminalize the whole shit. What? Decriminalize the whole shit. Don't legalize it. Just decriminalize it. They don't need to legalize it. They need to decriminalize it. And people be like, well, what's the difference? And I actually used to be on the legalization side of this conversation, but now I think I'm on the decriminalization side. Because don't make it a crime. It's not a crime. It's perfectly acceptable. You can do it if you want to do it. We need it to be legal. We need it to be decriminalized. It can no longer be a crime. It needs to be decriminalized. There should be no one in jail for using a plant. And in 1972, this commission, following up on the commission already from the third. Do you guys see what's going on? The LaGuardia report was in the 40s, guys. The LaGuardia report was in the 40s. The earlier study from the authorities in British India was in 1893, guys. So since 1893, there's been information that said there was nothing wrong with this plant from trusted scientific bodies. But fuck it, you don't trust the 1893 report because that's from the British India? No problem. We did a report in 1940 here. Fiorello LaGuardia with the New York Academy of Medicine did the report here in 1939 to 1944. Then they released the report and they're like, come on. But Harry Anslinger, he couldn't let this shit go because it was too much money. The DuPonts had too much money up. There was too much money There was too much fucking money on the line. The DuPonts had put up too much money. William Randolph Hearst had put up too much money. Andrew Mellon from the Carnegie Mellon family had put up too much fucking money. Too much money on the fucking line. To quote again, Mellon, the Secretary of the Treasury and the wealthiest man in the U.S., allegedly invested heavily in DuPont family synthetic fiber nylon to compete with hemp. So who gives a fuck that in 1916, the chief USDA scientist Jason L. Merrill put out USDA Bulletin 404 saying that, listen, hemp is fine. Y'all don't need to do all of this. Y'all don't need to make nylon and this and that. You don't need to be trying to cut down mad trees and sell paper pulp. Hemp can do it. Hemp is sufficient enough. It's reusable. It grows fast. It has so many uses. We're good. Shut y'all stupid nerdy asses up. Go play a video game. We all here trying to make money. You fucking Howard Wallowitz looking ass nigga. The fuck up. Smack you in your face. Leonard and fucking Howard Wallowitz motherfuckers. Fucking Sheldon Cooper ass niggas. So they punked the Leonards, the Howard Wallowitzes and the Sheldon Coopers. They punked the Big Bang niggas, told them to shut the fuck up, and still went out here and got to the bag. You understand? So fine. The British India report from the 1890s wasn't good. USDA report 404 wasn't good in 1919. Governor Fiorello's the LaGuardia Commission report wasn't good in 1940s. 1939, 1944, 5-year study, that wasn't good. So in 1972, marijuana, a signal of misunderstanding, the Schaefer Commission report comes out. Decriminalize it. No. Family, do you understand what type of fuckery this is? Family, do you understand the level of fuckery this is? Your taxes, American tax dollars, not everybody here pays American taxes, I get it. Much love to my international listeners. Y'all really helped this show get going. Everybody listening over, I love y'all so much. I have no fucking clue. You know what I'm saying? Tell a friend to tell a friend. Keep sharing the podcast. They gonna learn something today. And then, yeah, you dig me? This is fucking crazy. So, your tax dollars, think about this. Not only did the British India tax dollars pay for one report in the 1890s, then now you got 3-4 different reports that American tax dollars have paid for, that august scientific bodies have done. And they said, fuck you, eat a dick, fuck you, suck a glizzy, fuck you, eat a dick, fuck you. If it ain't about the money, don't be hitting my line. Nigga. You still contacting me about this shit. You still contacting me about this fucking report. Don't be hitting me up. Oh my goodness, family. What the fuck? Alright, so I'm gonna continue on. The commission issued a report of its findings in 1972 that called for the decriminalization of marijuana possession in the United States. The report was ignored by the White House. The report was ignored by the White House, but is an important document against prohibition. While the Controlled Substances Act was being drafted in a House committee in 1970, Assistant Secretary of Health Roger O. Eggberg had recommended that cannabis temporarily be placed in Schedule 1. Temporary meant until today, family, 50 plus years later. I guess temporary is, they don't know the definition of temporary. The most restrictive category of drugs. Schedule 1, family, for those that don't know, is supposed to be for shit that don't have no medical use. Highly addictive, harmful, no medical use. Cannabis has so many fucking medical uses that the only reason they put it in Schedule 1 was to get it out the way so niggas can make money. You understand? To get it out the way. But then that didn't get it out the way. What that did was just bring it underground. So then half of these fucking senators' kids can make money with their homies selling weed on the black market. Let's not really have the fucking conversation of conversations. Because if we having the conversation of conversations, family, the biggest drug dealers in this fucking country is all these fucking politicians, all these fucking politically controlled organizations, the CIA, the FBI, like the DEA, all these task force. Well, they the ones who's really pushing heavy fucking weight. Let's cut it the fuck out. How many of these big sellers, how many of these big brands probably got somebody who's CIA at the top selling this bud, y'all? How many of these really big brands is really just CIA fucking? It's just really fronts for the CIA? Huh? How many of these really big brands is just really fronts for the CIA? The FBI, the DEA. We saw what they did with Frank White. Nigga, this is snowfall all over. This is green leaf. Fuck snowfall, this is green leaf, bruh. How many of the top cannabis sellers, growers, distributors all across this country and abroad are really federal agents? Let's not play like we don't understand who really runs this shit. Anybody who gets to be big up against them, you gotta question if they're controlled opposition. If they just put up there by them to make it look like there's a fight. But in reality, it's one hand washing the other, both washing the goddamn face. Don't let these niggas play you with the fucking... It is all a show. It is all for show. The whole world is a fucking stage with these people. But I'm gonna continue on. The report was ignored by the White House. While the Controlled Substances Act was being drafted in a House committee in 1970, Assistant Secretary of Health Roger O. Eggberg had recommended that cannabis be placed in Schedule 1, you piece of shit. On March 22nd, 1972, the Commission's chairman, Raymond P. Schaefer, presented a report to Congress in the Republic entitled Marijuana, a Signal of Misunderstanding, which favored ending marijuana prohibition and adopted other methods to discourage use. So shout out to you, Raymond P. Schaefer, for being real. Raymond P. Schaefer, American attorney, politician, 39th governor of Pennsylvania. Served as lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania from 63 to 67 and was Pennsylvania's 70 from 59 to 62. Salute to you, sir. Salute to you. I know they got good weed in Pennsylvania. Good cannabis in Pennsylvania. The report was published in a signal. The Commission's report, which said that while public sentiment tended to view marijuana users as dangerous, they actually found users to be more timid, drowsy, and passive. The Commission's report said that while public sentiment tended to view marijuana users as dangerous, how did public sentiment get to that? How did it shift to cannabis users being dangerous? Who did that? We 30, 40 years into the prohibition now, family. Yeah, they done shifted people to think that there's something wrong with this. They actually found users to be more timid, drowsy, and passive. They just kept laid back, chilling people, man. They ain't trying to have no static. It concluded that cannabis did not cause widespread danger to society. It concluded that cannabis did not cause widespread danger to society. It recommended using social measures other than criminalization to discourage use. It compared the situation of cannabis to that of alcohol, which is fully legal, which you could go to your corner store and buy from Aki all times of the day and goddamn night. You go into your CVS and pick up a bottle of wine. Go to Walgreens. What the fuck is this? The Commission's proposed decriminalization of marijuana possession was opposed in 1974, of course, by the recommendations of the Congressional Subcommittee chaired by Senator James Eastland. The Nixon administration did not implement the recommendations from the National Commission on Marijuana and Drug Abuse. However, the report has frequently been cited by individuals supporting the removal of cannabis from Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances Act. Crazy. Insane. Insane, family. So it's like no matter how many times, shout to Raymond P. Schaefer, marijuana, a signal of misunderstanding. Shout to the Schaefer Commission. Shout to everybody who was on, the members of the commission, Michael O. Sonerick, Raymond Schaefer, Dana L. Farnsworth, Henry Brill, Timmy Lee Carter, Joan Cooney, Charles O. Galvin, John A. Howard, Harold E. Hughes, Jacob Javits, Jacob Javits. Interesting. Very interesting. Paul Rogers, Morris Sievers, J. Thomas Ungleader, and Mitchell Ware. Shout to y'all for trying. Y'all fucking tried. They ignored y'all again, as they like to do. They like to fucking ignore people when the truth comes out and they don't want to deal with it. But shout to y'all, because if it wasn't for all of these reports and all of this pushback, we wouldn't be where we are in the war today. Will cannabis ever be fully decriminalized? I think it's just too much money in keeping it in the black market in some capacity, into keeping it in this gray area in some way. Will they ever shift completely to a fully green market? Yeah, of course, at some point, everything will change, everything cycles out, but that won't be till they've made all the money they could possibly fucking make and have implemented a way to make even more money on the legal side, especially on the medical side. Will every state be recreational in the United States? Probably not. Maybe a lot of states will just adopt a very nice, robust medical program that allows a lot of people to get on medicinally, because there's far more money in calling it medicinal cannabis instead of saying my grandma grew me some bud in the backyard. There's just far more money. But yeah, man, this is very interesting indeed. We're gonna take a quick break, family. This has been one hell of a fucking trip, looking at more of the legal logistics history of it, how people have again and again tried to fight against this, and there's a lot of big money in the way. There's a lot of big money in the way, but now that a lot of big money is now shifting to fighting with it, it's like, where does that go? Where do we go from here? Take a quick break, gang. We'll be right back. Yeah, gang. Yo, we gonna continue with this next episode, man. But I hope you guys learned something. Please tell a friend to tell a friend. Wednesdays and Sundays is when we get to it. You know how we do it. It ain't nothing to it. Share this episode out with somebody who's into the canna culture, somebody who needs to better understand and learn the canna culture. Share this episode out, man. Let people know, man. They've been lying about this shit since the 1890s, and we're gonna get into this a little bit more. And next episode, we're gonna delve into the British India side of things and how far back this disrespect of the plant goes, guys. You ain't gonna want to miss 1 second. Tap in his ghetto point of view at gmail.com. His ghetto point of view at gmail.com. His ghetto point of view at gmail.com for all questions, comments, critiques, criticisms, advice, articles you love from you want to share, stories you think I need to know about. If you're coming out with a new podcast, you have a new wine you've just you're bringing to market, a new beverage, new clothing brand, new shoe line, new sneaker line. You developed a new app. You developed some new AR technology. You developed something new in the blockchain space. New currency, new way smart contracts are going to be working going forward. Listen, man, I'm all for it. You created a new verse that people can go on and buy land. Let me know, man. Tap me in so we could tap the community in. His ghetto point of view at gmail.com. His ghetto point of view at gmail.com. His ghetto point of view at gmail.com. Peace to the tribe. Catch you next time.